the abdominal cavity. Got a longer list of items here. This particular chunk right down here, the hepatic blood vessels, will take a little bit of time to pick through. If you don't get to these down here today, don't worry about it. We'll have an additional lab with the cat on Wednesday. Essentially, we're going to try to get through these today. And you could also think about today as a reveal day, a cleaning day, rather than an identification day. If you get to the point where you're going through the cat and you're identifying these blood vessels, fantastic. But a good portion of today is just going to be revealing the blood vessels. And then on Wednesday, we'll have that kind of cleaned up abdominal cavity where you can move around, and I can go in small groups and kind of point out all the blood vessels that you're revealing. But today it'll just take a little bit more. I mean, it took some time to pick all that stuff clean up there. It's just more laborious down here to do all that. So one thing that I want you to do is, once you get your cat open, is identify the major organs that we're going to find in the abdominal cavity. These are not going to be quizzed or tested, but they're just, essentially landmarks, major landmarks that will allow you to orient yourself around the cat if you know where the pancreas is at and where the spleen's at and things like that. So do spend some time just covering those, even though it's not going to be tested. And then it's going to be clean up, and then eventually we'll get to the identification of these. But if we don't identify these today, not the end of the world. We're just going to continue the same exact lab Wednesday. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We are going to make the same basic cuts that we did above the diaphragm, below the diaphragm. We're going to create our barn doors again. I'm going to keep that diaphragm intact. It's not a super thick muscle. So if I make a snip here, got the wrong scissors. Maybe. Okay, finally. So now I'm doing the same thing that I did last time. I'm going to make sure that I don't cut any big organs in here.
Did your cat just go ahead and rot? Is that what you're using?
Yeah, I'm just not getting it out of the bag. I'm kind of avoiding her until we absolutely need her. We'll have our nose plugs and Vicks ready that day. Okay, so I still have my diaphragm here, right? We can just kind of move it around as need be. Then I'm just going to cut down the midline like we did previously. Once we get all the way down to the bottom, we can kind of follow the contour of the stomach and snip it back over there. And same thing on this side. Snip it back over there. Much easier than the thoracic cavity, right? And that's all you're going to do. Now, at this point, you can see that there's basically not a lot of blood vessels that you can see, right? There's a few smaller blood vessels and arterioles that you can see here. When you get into the hepatic system, the yellow is the veins in the hepatic system. So this is what we call a triple-dyed cat. Blue for veins and for veins up here, and pink for arteries up here. Down here, if it's in the hepatic system, you'll see these yellow lines, and that's the veins in the hepatic system. The pink still holds true. So these are tiny little guys. We'll only be identifying a couple of these as a group, not individually. All of your major blood vessels for this area exist down here. This is why it complicates things. Most of the major blood vessels are down here, and what you'll have to do is spend a little time delicately kind of picking through all of that connective tissue and slowly revealing the blood vessels below, right? So you can kind of see how as soon as I started ripping into that blood vessel popped out to where we can see it. You also want to be careful with any of these blood vessels that extend through this material that you're going to try to be cleaning around. For example, I want to keep that blood vessel right there. So it's embedded in that membrane. I want to get rid of the membrane, but I don't want to get rid of any blood vessels. So today is, again, really just a cleanup day. You're going to spend quite a bit of time just picking the fat and the tissues away from everything. And that's just a huge chunk of adipose tissue that's stuck in and around the kidney right there. You can see the descending inferior vena cava right there, but lots and lots of, oh wow, look how oily it is. Looks like my grandma's alphabet soup, or not alphabet, vegetable soup. Anyway. Sorry. So that's what you're gonna do today. All right. And then if we have time, then we'll identify blood vessels. But today, focus mostly on reveal them, and then we'll identify them probably Wednesday.